Elk Grove Park District for April 28th, 2022. Can we have a roll call, please?
President Cook,
Here?
Commissioner Biecki,
Here.
Commissioner Carlson,
Here.
Commissioner Walls,
Here.
Commissioner O'Malley.
Here.
Okay, approval of the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes for the committee of the whole and the regular scheduled meeting of April 14th, 2022. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Minutes for both of those committee meetings are approved. Public communication, any comments from the audience?
No comments, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, correspondence, do any of the commissioners have any correspondence? Okay. Special guests, we have special guests here tonight, Fred Janowski and Roger Staskoff, okay. From the AARP Tax Preparation Representatives, you guys want to come up and give us your report on our annual results?
If I can give just a quick intro, I've been doing this now for,
Come on up for the mic if you could, and just introduce yourself and,
I've been with the program here in Elk Grove for 20 years now. And I keep coming back every year to thank you for what you've done for us. Roger is our district coordinator, and there were about 7 or 8 different groups, and Elk Grove is one of those. We were short a local coordinator this past year, and Roger stepped in and took that over as well. So he's wearing 2 hats. He managed the program here in Elk Grove as well as 6 or 7 other sites in the area, Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, Wheeling, Palatine, and so forth. So Roger will give the report this year, but it's good to see everyone again.
Fred,
Yeah,
solicit
Fred.
somebody in the community that maybe will take over the local coordinator.
Well, we try every year. It's a lot
You're
of
on
work.
TV
well,
now.
why don't you tell them a little bit about what what
Roger will do that.
No, if I hadn't stepped in, we would have not been able to run the site this year. So there's no way, we were closed last year, and it was really difficult, I know. A lot of residents were very upset because they couldn't get their taxes done because of COVID. But I'll get into that in a little bit of what we did. So again, thank you all very much for having us here today, Fred and I. As I say, Fred's been doing this for 20 years. He's, one of our him and maybe one other person is the longest standing person in the whole district here. We have about 130 volunteers in the district. So for those of you who are not familiar with the AARP Tax Aid Foundation, it's co-sponsored by the AARP Foundation and the IRS. The foundation is the AARP's nonprofit entity of AARP, and it's the largest free tax-based assistance program in the United States. Pre-COVID, when we were at full strength, there was over 5,000 sites around the country and about 35,000 volunteers. Those numbers, unfortunately, over the last 3 years have come way down because of COVID for various reasons. We've lost a lot of volunteers, we've lost sites, et cetera, and this year we're starting to really get our momentum back and hope to be back next year at our pre-COVID COVID rates. Right now, across the country, the program did roughly 60% of the volume they did in 2019, pre-COVID. Fortunately, in our district, we did 88% of that volume with 3 fewer sites because we only were able to staff 8 of our 11 sites this season because we've lost volunteers. We've lost about 20% of our volunteers over the last 3 years for various reasons. There's some folks that just weren't comfortable volunteering and coming on site. Last year we did it all remotely, but our output was a lot, smaller because we weren't doing it face to face with the taxpayers. And we weren't able to recruit like we normally do, because there's always turnover, but we always do active recruiting in the summer and in the fall. So we're really going to get into it again this year. We just weren't able to do it much, besides putting, articles in papers. We certainly would like to, I'll talk with, to get it into your newsletters to ask for volunteers. Besides promoting the program, we're always promoting getting volunteers. So our volunteers are have to be certified every single year, no matter what their experience is. Tax law changes every year, and in the last couple of years, with some of the legislations that's passed, it's really changed a lot. That's some of the reason we lost a few of our volunteers, is some of the administrative and training things we had to go through with COVID, and learning some of the new tax laws and the way we had to do things that we didn't have to do in the past. But in spite of that, the site statistics for Elk Grove this year is we operated from February 4th to April 13th. We did taxes on Wednesdays and Fridays from 9 till whenever the last taxpayer got out of there, which was sometimes up until 3 o'clock. It depends. Last appointment was at noon, but some appointments take you half an hour and some taxpayers take 3 hours. It all depends. We had 17 volunteers at Elk Grove, and that was split between client facilitators, tax preparers, and quality reviewers. Our client facilitators are the folks that greet the taxpayer and check their ID when they come in, bring them over to the intake section where they set them down and go through their paperwork and make sure they have everything they need, and have them start filling out the forms that we need, the intake interview form that we made them. Fred acted kind of as the lead for the client facilitators this year. And then after that's done, they're moved into the computer room where we have our tax preparation stations, and that's where the tax preparers sit with the taxpayers, do the return, and then a quality reviewer, who is another certified tax preparer, checks all the work, so we double check everything. As far as numbers, we did 402 returns this year. And if you look back in 2019, we were in the 490s, so roughly in the low 80% of what we did then. But in 2019, we had like 9 tax preparation stations, and this year we had between 5 and 7, again, because of staffing. We maxed out as much as we could, and we typically had between 22 and 26 appointments. We could have taken more appointments if we had more volunteers. So again, that's part of one of my missions here in the off season is the recruitment side of things here, is to get more volunteers. So anybody watching this, we'd love to have them reach out and volunteer. You don't have to be a CPA to be a volunteer. If you're computer literate, you're halfway good with numbers, we train you really well. The average adjusted gross income for the taxpayers we saw this year was $34,123. That was about a $5,000 bump up from what we saw last year in our district, and there's a couple reasons, and we've been seeing a gradual rise, but the reason for a big gap between this and last year was in 2020, part of the COVID legislation said seniors didn't have to make required minimum distributions, and a lot of our clients didn't take distributions in 2020, but they had to start taking their distributions again in 2021. And then another thing we're seeing is as the baby boomers are retiring, they're the first ones that really had almost a full working life of contributing to 401ks and IRAs. And we're seeing seniors now hopefully are in a little bit better financial status than some of the folks that came right before them. At least some of the folks we're seeing that come to us. And we're going to continue to see that, we think, in the years to come. Total amount of refunds that we issued, we created for the folks that came to us was $381,000. Works out to about $1,000 per the taxpayers. Obviously, some of our taxpayers had to pay, and some folks just don't have any income, and there's no tax liability. And then when I talked about the mission, I didn't say, but the mission of our foundation really is to serve the senior community with a special emphasis on low-income seniors. Of the 402 tax returns we did, 92% had at least one taxpayer who was at least 60 years or older. So that shows that really the majority of the folks that we're serving are senior citizens. There's no age limitation on the program. And if you, some of our sites that aren't at senior centers, like we hear at Sheila Ray, they tend to see a bigger, at a library, we tend to see a more diverse population. But most of us are, most of the people we see are seniors at Elk Grove. And it's also about demographics. 65% of the folks we saw this year live in Elk Grove Village. Another 20% live right in the surrounding communities of Itasca, Bensonville, Schaumburg, Roselle. And then the rest of the 15% came from all over the Chicago area. As I said, there's not, all of our sites throughout the state were not in operation this year. So folks were scrambling once sites filled up. So we saw a few folks come from somewhat far away to get their taxes done. And then some other observations. I don't know if you guys ever get any feedback, but I can say that the returning Elk Grove residents were really happy that we were open again. Last year, one of the sites I volunteered at was the Elk Grove Senior Center, Arlington Heights Senior Center. We saw a lot of Elk Grove folks coming there if they could get an appointment. Unfortunately, a bunch of other folks had to go to a professional preparer and pay $200 to $300 to get their tax returns done. And most of these returns are fairly simple, and for them to have to pay someone to do that is really a shame, you know. Another thing, with COVID protocols, actually some of the things put in place really were of benefit to our volunteers and made a lot of them feel safe by to volunteer this year, from mandating mask wearing for everybody that's, taxpayers and all of our volunteers. Our volunteers had to be fully vaccinated, having plexiglass shields between us and the taxpayers, and wearing the mask and spacing. It was a little bit of a, not as smooth a process maybe as normally would be, but I think the Elk Grove team really did a good job with help from the staff there to make it as smooth as possible. Some of the other things with COVID and, the IRS and AARP are big organizations, and they create some bureaucratic, I don't know, I want to be polite in saying this, but some of the forms and things we had to go through and get things signed were a bit of a pain, and some of our, it was made our job, we had more administrative things to do to service our taxpayers that we hope go away going forward. Another trend we saw, which is not a good trend, is a rise in identity theft. And two different ways we saw it this year here with folks at Elk Grove was we had 6 people that when we transmitted their returns to the IRS, they got rejected right away. And the reason for the reject was someone had already filed their tax using their Social Security number to file a tax return. The reason that we saw this rise is that with the economic stimulus payments, it was really easy. The government made it fairly easy for people to get their money, and if they didn't get their money, if they filed a tax return and said they didn't get it, they get the refund. So identity thieves, buy Social Security numbers and then just submit hundreds of returns hoping, hey, will we get any direct deposits into these bank accounts, and then they close the bank accounts. So for the 6 people that in Elk Grove that we saw this with, what we ended up doing for them is we had to file a paper return because the IRS wouldn't accept anything electronically because they said, hey, we already saw a tax return here, and there's an identity theft affidavit that we filled out, helped the taxpayer fill it out, and we mail it in for them. That's one of the things why we say to seniors, even if you don't have a tax liability, file a tax return so that no one else can file a tax return in your stead. We also saw several cases for folks here of someone that had filed for unemployment compensation using their Social Security number, and they got a 1099-G saying, hey, here's your income from unemployment, which is stated as income. So again, we help them register with the state, say, this is bogus, you don't have to pay this, we don't have to report this as income. But it's upsetting to people, but it's a trend, unfortunately, that we're seeing more and more of. For next year, as I said, the plan is I'd like to have at least 2 more stations and more volunteers, so our recruitment effort is going to be aggressive this off season. And then what I'd like to thank all of you for is, you know, the staff at the Park District and the Shealy Ray Center were really fantastic. I can't say enough about it, about what they did for us to help us navigate. Things were a little different, the way we had to set things up and break things down. And I can say our site liaison, Gina Aquino, was fantastic. Her and Liz, the customer service lead, really set up a great scheduling system for us. I was able to view it on a shared Google Drive, so in advance I could check all the taxpayers and do some research and get everything ready. And George, who's like the maintenance guy there, set up the facility, fantastic. He had to break it down and set it up before each time. And during the course of the season, we made a couple tweaks. Hey, he said, no problem, he did it. You know, I just, that you guys make it a lot, make it that this is a site we want to have open and do it. I can say that, you know, the 11 sites in my district, there are sites that are, they almost make it feel like they're doing us a favor, you know, and we're all volunteers. You guys really make it, it's a collaborative effort, and it's, and we really appreciate it. I think, Fred, you would agree with that, right?
Absolutely.
You know, and without all of them, you know, we wouldn't have been as successful this year. We wouldn't have been able to do 400 returns, you know. So our goal for next year is to get back to those pre-COVID levels and be able to get up to closer to 500 returns. There's certainly the capacity with the space that you guys give us that we can do that. It's just a matter of staffing for us. And with that, I'll turn over any questions anybody has.
Questions?
Just a thank you.
Yeah, well, we thank you too.
Yeah.
It's-
And
We
I will-
enjoy it. I mean, Fred's been doing it for 20 years, and when I retired, I had to keep busy, you know. There's no way I wanted to sit at home. So even for these 3 months, it's like I have a job again, you know?
No, it's a great service, and I got, just to let you know, we got a lot of positive feedback from the seniors at the Sheila Ray Center that used the service. Said everything was run very professionally, it's well organized, very easy to come in there, and things were explained in easy terms for them to understand, and they really appreciated it. And so anything we can do to help you solicit volunteers or
Yeah.
advertise when it comes around at the beginning of the year
Okay.
in our brochures, please let us know.
I
and
will.
include
Who
us,
should I
'cause it's-
liaison with for that? You, okay,
Our
Kelly?
marketing, Kelly, will, yeah, she'll take care of that, and
And Gina
Gina,
can get
yeah,
it in, okay.
Gina first, and then she'll.
Gina's great, I'll just
Yeah.
say that, okay.
So thank you, and Fred, thank you for handling it all these years and passing it along and making sure it got handed over to the right guy.
Well, having him on hand is great too. And he knows so many of the taxpayers too that come in, you know, and they know him, you know?
Well, it's like any committee you volunteer for, before you leave, you have to have your replacement lined up, so.
Well, he tried to get a couple people over the years to take this position, and he's outlasted all of them, you know, so,
Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Scott, I see there were passed up comments from the audience. Did you have anything you wanted to talk? Okay. On behalf of the foundation, or any updates? Okay. Okay, next item. Recommendations for acceptance and approval. First item, need a motion to accept a bid from Durabuilt Fence of Wheeling for the 2022 split rail fence replacement project, and it's in the amount of $132,385. And it's for holes number 2, 3, 7, 8, and 14.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? We did discuss this at the committee of the whole. Staff's recommendation was to replace fencing at hole 4 and 18 also. The pricing went up significantly from last year, so we made some cuts and looked at those areas that definitely needed the replacement now versus waiting. And so the holes that we did agree to replace are, once again, holes 2, 3, 7, 8, and 14. And that total, once again, is $132,385. Any other comments or questions? Can we have a roll call on that, please?
Commissioner Bianchi,
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
Commissioner Walls,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes. Okay, next item for approval is Athletic Advisory Board members. I move that these individuals be appointed to serve a 2-year term as an advisory member to the following boards: the Elk Grove Youth Baseball, Anna Marie Mackey; for Elk Grove Youth Basketball, Jerry and Lisa Brindise, Mario Farfan, Peter Torres, Louise Urostegui. Sorry about that.
So moved.
So moved?
Second.
Second, okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
Commissioner Walls,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Yes.
Commissioner Bianchi,
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes. Next is approval of renewal of the Athletic Advisory Board members to be appointed to serve a 2-year term as advisory board members for the following boards: Elk Grove Youth Elk Grove Youth Basketball, Andrew Colon, Kelly Meritish, Samantha Dixon, Pusateri Dixon, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Walls,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Yes.
Commissioner Bianchi,
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes. Next is approval of the adoption agreement for Security Financial Resource Incorporated, non-standardized governmental 401A pre-approved plan. Any motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And can we have some discussion on what this is for, Brad?
Yeah, so this is for the IRS and the legal, and legislative regulatory updates, for the 401A plan.
Okay. And in the committee of the whole, we discussed this as far as amending the contribution and reducing it from 15% down to 0 on item 26 in the document. So do we need to add that as part of this motion? Tom Hoffman, I guess I'll ask
Would it be
you
okay to do that?
to do that, and then they can do it if there's a timing or something from the legal, because we're not sure as far as reducing the benefit, whether you have to allow so many days, or should that be a separate motion, or can we do it as one?
I think you can make it as part of the existing motion.
And then they would just do it as timely as they can do it under the guy, whatever the law is, the guidelines.
Reducing it from 15 to 0.
Yeah, okay. So we'll include as part of that, I guess amending that motion to change it and to include a reduction from 15 to 0. I forget who made the motion.
I made the motion.
Okay, are you willing to,
So moved.
so moved, okay.
Second.
Second it, okay. Now, any other discussion or question on it?
I don't mind speaking on behalf of, to the employees and certainly to the residents, because this is something I actually have tried to champion for several years, and I couldn't come up with 3 commissioners that felt the same way, and that's what it takes to change any policies in that. We've got to have 3 people that feel the same way that I do. And I don't mind telling the employees, you know, you could be disappointed. It's tough taking away some benefits that have been set for 20 years, but at the same time, I've always thought it's too rich of a benefit. I feel the employees are well compensated, and I think the majority of the residents that I represent think the same thing, that we offer a competitive salary. At the end of the year, we actually look at salary ranges and make adjustments. We offer great benefits. But the most important thing is you do have a pension plan. And to get that pension, you only contribute 4.7%, and the rest is picked up by the taxpayers. And currently, that's close to $600,000 a year. So also during my tenure, and I'm approaching 21 years on this board, we've contributed $600,000 to this 457B. And that's, like President Cook said, that's 15% that we were matching. And I always felt that if you have a pension plan, what are we doing as a resident and as a board, offering a 15% match on something that 99% of the other park districts don't do? So as I may be disappointed that, or as residents look at me, I hope they're excited. If staff looks at me, I hope you understand it, but it's too rich of a benefit in my mind. I'm glad we're making this change, and, I appreciate the support of a couple of commissioners that felt the same way.
Yeah, I think when we looked at this, and did some research, we want to make sure we're always competitive with our salary dollars, and make sure that we're compared, not only competitive, but we are able to draw the best talent. And when we looked at what other districts are doing, no other district is, except I think one, is offering the match in addition to a pension. So the pension is a very good, as Bill mentioned, is a very, very good retirement benefit that on its own should be sufficient to contribute towards their retirement as part of their overall benefit package, which is what we look at. So, anyways, that's all I will comment on. Anybody else want to make a comment? Okay. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yep. Commissioner O'Malley,
Yes.
Commissioner Bianchi,
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wells,
No.
President Cook.
Yes. Okay, committee reports, capital projects, Commissioner O'Malley.
No report.
Okay, Finance Committee, Commissioner Walls.
Sorry, it's May 13th, I believe. Okay, corporate fund, call it 2.1 million in property tax was collected in March. 225,000 roughly in replacement tax was collected in March. All expense categories are under budget. Year to date, 2,470. Now, is that 2 million?
Yes,
Okay.
2.4.
2.476 million compared to a budget of 1.89 million. Recreation fund, call it $1 million in property tax collected. Fees and emissions was 208,000 compared to a budget of 236,000. Program fees were 464,000 compared to a budget of 425,000. All expense categories are under budget. Net revenue of 895,000 compared to a budget of 569,000. And the golf fund, 497 rounds of golf in March. That has to be somewhat of a record. 500. That has to be a record, right?
No, a couple
No,
marches ago, we
yeah,
had like a
it's-
couple thousand, like
Yeah.
1,200 or something. It was a really nice march.
Yeah, and the driving range was open for a couple days as well, and that is weather dependent, obviously, the range. Fees and emissions, 82,000 compared to a 63,000. So that's what over budget, Bill?
19?
Okay. All expenses categories are under budget year to date except for supplies and utilities. Net revenue of 104,000 in the negative compared to a budgeted minus 236,000 in the negative. So as of March, we're doing fairly well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the simulators and the new clubhouse, obviously, especially now with the weather going into April, it's really doing what we would hope to as far as, kind of weathering the storm and, supporting some year-round revenues. So we can, take a little bit of bad weather and.
Yeah, and I'm not saying our budget
Have as big an impact.
Yeah, our budget process wasn't off. We just had absolutely no idea how successful, well, I'll say the whole entire clubhouse is and I think will be, but the simulators really have outpaced what we ever could have imagined, correct?
I think there's still room for growth as well,
Yeah.
so.
Any questions? That's my report.
Okay, Committee of the Whole, we met tonight at 6 o'clock in Committee of the Whole and discussed several topics. One of it was Fox Run fence, which we discussed earlier and voted on approving. We had a discussion on a Rotary Park project, potential with the village. We also discussed the 401A reinstatement that we just voted on. onto whether to reduce the contributions from 15 to 0. We also discussed a correspondence that we received from one of our low bidders for landscaping that I will contact and address the person's concerns. And then in new business, we discussed the Parks Foundation's request to have a company put in kiosks at Pirates Cove and then a signage at the community athletic fields, and basically providing a service, a fundraising service. And Scott, maybe you want to come up and just briefly cover that, since I see you in the audience here for the foundation. Yes, it's.
So it's fundraising for the Parks Foundation. It is easily taking a photo. So there's a QR code on the kiosk and on the signage that allows you to quickly and easily upload a photo to their service, and then you can choose from coasters to plaques to all kinds of different items to show your photographs on. So it's a quick and easy way to purchase photos of, perhaps participating at an event, but photos from your phone and order something, you pay for it, and proceeds from the sale come to the Parks Foundation.
Fantastic. So they're able to go, like, the first place is the Pirates Cove. You bring your kids, your grandkids there, take some pictures. You can go right to the kiosk, upload the pictures if you want, and create these different either plaques or.
Yeah, there were coasters. Kelly, you probably remember more than I do of all the different items. There were wall graphics. Yeah, there were a whole bunch of
Some
different
neat
photo
stuff, yeah.
options.
And
So
then
that in the
they'll be mailed
kiosk,
to them.
the kiosk will actually show what's available, and then the QR code takes you directly to their website, which will show all the items that are available. So you can go to it via, your phone. You can even do it at home. Like once you have the website, you can order from anywhere and send any picture you want.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So when that gets out, for all those people out there, it's a great way to contribute to the
Yeah.
foundation and walk away with something in addition to,
Take your
Help
pictures
us
around
out.
at the Park District and upload them to the site. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect way to get back.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I believe that was it. And then we adjourned at 7 o'clock. And that ends my report.
I'd like to add, President
Sure.
Cook, the only other thing we gave consensus to, Ben, is, breaking the ComEd agreement over at Muir.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
So, we're no longer gonna be mowing the ComEd easement.
Right, so for residents that are along those two parks, Muir Park and Udall Park, previously we had agreements to mow underneath the lines, and so our usage, we don't need to use those areas anymore, so we are not going to renew our agreement to mow there. ComEd will still mow there, but it'll be on their schedule, so you may have some areas where the park adjacent to ComEd that our property will still continue to be mowed like we always do and maintained. The ComEd, we have no control over how they're gonna do it, but it probably will not be as frequent as we're currently mowing it. So you may see some change there along the ComEd line. So just as an FYI for those residents that are along either Udall Park or Muir Park. So,
And us opting
Oh,
out
sorry.
of that agreement saves us approximately $7,500 a year.
correct.
That was staff's number.
Was it just Muir or,
Just Muir.
so it does not Udall?
You know,
We're gonna continue to cut.
enter into a new.
We're still using it, okay. So I take that back. So Udall's not affected, it's just Muir Park, the houses along Muir Park. Okay. Anything else? Okay, that ends my report on Committee of the Whole. Athletic Committee, Mr. Biecki.
House softball, there are currently 204 girls signed up for spring house softball. Practices have begun and games will begin on Saturday, May 7th for instructional through sophomore levels. The junior softball level has begun games and they play in the Midwest Regional Fast Pitch League. Travel baseball, games for all divisions 8U to 14U have begun, and all of this is now dependent on the weather as we've had a lot of rain. But you should see teams out soon playing on our fields. House baseball, the spring season, we had 232 participants register for House Baseball League. We have teams at every level from Pee Wee to Pony. All levels will be played in-house except for the Pony League, which will be played as part of the CSYBL. And Pony Games just started this past weekend on April 23rd. And the in-house league will start games on Monday, May 9th. Football and cheer. Football is running its spring 7-on-7 touch league on Sundays at Elk Grove High School. They have 4 teams in grades 3 through 5 league and 4 teams in the grades 6 through 8 league. Games will run each weekend until May 7th. Rain makeup from April 24th. They have a total of 72 kids playing in this brand new program. Spring competitive cheer will end the last weekend of April with competitions, and then 24 girls have joined the new spring competitive cheer program. And then finally, soccer. There are currently 267 participants signed up for the spring recreational soccer leagues. Players range from little ballers, ages 2 to 3, up to grade 6. Soccer games began on April 16th for all age levels, and travel soccer has started its spring season with games and tournaments. And that concludes my report.
Okay, any questions for Commissioner Bianchi? Okay, golf reports. Scott?
Okay, we'd like to welcome our new general manager, Alex Chappell, and our new bar and events manager, Kelly Cunningham. I'm sure they're both gonna do a real nice job. We're hoping the weather gets a little better for the guys going outside. And on May 13th is the Miller Shootout, and there's still some openings, but you have to call the course to get in.
Okay,
And that concludes my report.
okay. Any other questions for Commissioner Carlson? Youth Committee, Commissioner Carlson?
Okay, so the deadline for the scholarship application is coming up quick. It's May 6th. And the applications are available at elkgroveparks.org, about foundation. Also available at the customer service desks at the Pavilion and Hattendorf. And again, reminder, the Teen Summer Blast at Rainbow Falls is still for Friday, July 15th and August 5th, 8:15 to 10:15, and it's grades 6 through 11. And that concludes the report.
Any other questions? I would just add to the scholarship, for those that might be interested, you have a very good chance of getting an award, because the number that put in for them is usually like under 20.
I believe last year was 13.
13.
And we give out 7.
So you got a pretty good chance of getting a scholarship. So it must be worth your time to check into it, go to the website, fill out the application, especially if you've been involved in community service, either through the, in the village or particularly through the park district. You'd have a great chance. So please, the more the merrier, please. It's a lot of people work hard, volunteering their time into raise that money to give back to the community. So it's a great opportunity for you to have that spending money when you go to school. That's all I have. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Adults Senior Center, several events. It's busy time in spring. Got the Spring Bazaar was held today, and it's also going to be held tomorrow from 9 to 2 p.m. The Rotary Club is providing lunch for the members there on May 12th, and so I want to give a thank you to the Rotary Club for donating their time and funds to have that special day for the seniors. They really enjoy it and have a great time. The Day at the Races is coming up on May 18th. Dancing with the Bands is back. Live music series will be on May 5th. And then there's also, what was the other thing I wanted to just make sure we mentioned here? And then they just recently went to see The King and I, which was a sold-out performance, great event there. So keep an eye out on the website, and also if you have the Buzz, gives all the trips that are planned through April, May, and June. A lot of different activities, a lot of great fun, a lot of things coming up over the summertime and spring. So check it out, and that ends my report. Any questions? Old business. Any old business? Okay, new business.
I just wanted to say I was able to go to Diane Malinowski's retirement party yesterday during the afternoon. I know a couple of you met up with her afterwards. It was good to see her. The many years she's put in, never without a smile. She's done a great job for this district, and it was nice to see the whole room. It's a way to see some of the employees of the park district at a different level. It was a lot of fun, and I'm super happy I went. But congratulations, Diane. And I don't think she's retiring from Channel 6, is she?
No.
No, thank goodness, because she does such a wonderful job. But it's too bad she couldn't be here tonight, but hopefully she's watching, and thanks again.
Well, and likewise, Diane donated her time to the Parks Foundation. She was an original charter member from when it was started. Along with me, I think we're the last two charter members there. And has donated her time. Once again, she's a staff person, so she's not required to be a part of the foundation. She does it on her own free time. She did the awesome job of secretary, which nobody wants. Everybody takes two steps back when the vote comes in, and she has always done a great job assisting and making that a success. And so thank you, Diane, for years of service. I know you're still going to be around town, so we'll see you still going to be involved with the park district. So thank you. Anything else? We have a proclamation. Are we gonna, Kelly? Were you gonna read that?
Brad?
Or Brad?
My mic's not working.
New business.
This is a proclamation from the village regarding Arbor Day, which is April 29th, 2022. Whereas Friday, April 29th, 2022 has been designated as Arbor Day 2022. And whereas Arbor Day has been proclaimed as a day set aside for the planting of trees in our parks and forests. And whereas the observance of Arbor Day impresses upon the people of our nation the importance of the preservation of our parks and forests. And whereas Arbor Day was originated in 1872 by J. Sterling Morton, a member of the Nebraska State Board of Agriculture. He was instrumental in the planting of 1 million trees in the state of Nebraska, and for his leadership, Nebraska became known as the Tree Planters State. He later became Secretary of Agriculture under President Grover Cleveland, and soon after, Arbor Day was observed yearly throughout the United States. And whereas the Elk Grove Park District will commemorate Arbor Day with the planting of a tree on Friday, April 29th, 2022. Now, therefore, I, Craig Johnson, Mayor of Village of Elk Grove, Counties of Cook and DuPage, do proclaim Friday, April 29th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the village of Elk Grove Village, and call upon the residents to observe this very important day. This was dated and signed by Mayor Craig B. Johnson.
Okay, thank you. And along that, it just reminded me that the foundation has another fundraising activity where you can have a memorial tree planted in some relatives or family members' honor. I think we agreed on the price of $600 that will include the planting of the tree in one of our parks, and then also a engraving on the Tree of Giving in the pavilion area building. So if you have a need for that or wish to have that, contact the foundation or the park district, and we'll get you the details on how that program works.
We are planting the tree tomorrow at Mead Park at 10 a.m. If you can't be there, we will be streaming it live via Facebook.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Payment of the bills. I need a motion for payment of the bills of April 11th, 2022 for P cards in the amount of $120,824.57. April 14th, 2022, in the amount of $113,996.51. And for April 22nd, 2022, in the amount of $173,870.14.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bierke,
Yes.
Commissioner Carlson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wells,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Malley,
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes, and the meeting is adjourned.
So you have to get a motion and a